Alright boys, how was all then?
Yeah,
Alright,
good
mate.
man.
Good.
All good,
Brad's
bud.
looking very festive. Big Santa Jumbo Claus over there. Did Santa bring you that or did you buy that yourself?
I bought that and it only arrived today.
Alright, was it for Christmas like?
It was meant to be for Christmas. That's why I bought it like 8 weeks ago. But the Chinese Heart Supporters Club never got it out to me in time, and I thought, fuck it, I'll wear it today.
Are you
Why
sure
not?
it wasn't the Aberdeen Supporters Club and you've just Tipex hearts on the front of it? It's not very maroon, is it?
This is Asian maroon, actually. I'll have you know.
Oh, is that a
Aye.
thing? Okay, cool.
Well, we've got a very continental hearts top to have Berlin hearts on. You've got Chinese hearts. Kev, what are you wearing?
Just a plain navy blue sweatshirt, mate. Sorry.
Fine, mate. Cool's that. What are you getting, Joe?
It's all you get in jail. It's jail uniform. And most of my other stuff is still in suitcases. I still haven't unpacked.
Tell us he's going to perform a magic show or a mime artist or something like that.
Aye, he looks, let's say, looks suspect, just to say the least.
I'm a bit upset about this because I'm going to sort this out for next week, boys. So don't worry. But I feel like that Kev and I have kind of swapped roles a little bit because
Aye.
while it is boring as ours, Kev, at least his background is clean and sharp, whereas mine's is just littered with empty boxes and shite left over from Christmas all over that table. So I'm in the crack deck now.
And your 40th.
And my 40th, they're slowly starting to deflate. A bit like my attitude. And aye, they'll be gone by the next episode. I've been busy, boys. Been busy week.
Welcome to This Is My Interior Design. Tune in next week where we'll talk about bold colours and how they make your room look bigger. And what's been happening?
Christmas, man. I had a long journey down to Oxford and back for the Christmas period, but back now in my own home, and I'm rested up, looking forward to festive football. But we've had that taken away from us, so I don't know what I'm going to do now. Probably
Right.
drink lots and chat more shit with you guys all the time.
Well, we'll talk about that a wee bit more in depth later on. Obviously, we spoke to quite a few folk on Boxing Day for the watch along. So again, just reiterate what was said on that call. Thanks to absolutely everybody that joined us. Thanks to Anne Budge, Joe Savage, Andrew McKinley, Cammy Devlin, and Peter Herring for joining us. For everybody on the podcast, we said thank you. We'll say it again. Wish everybody a Merry Christmas as well, because obviously this will be our podcast, and then we'll wish you all a happy new year, because we'll probably take a couple of weeks off, just with the fact that there's no football and there's nothing to preview. So the night we'll look back on 2021, talk about we'll do a bit of a review of 2021. We'll talk about our sort of favourite game of the year, goal of the year, save of the year, player of the year, and then our favourite individual moments. Talk about some headlines. We'll talk about a little bit of some of the stuff, some interesting stuff that came out of the watch along in terms of some things that Anne Budge said, that Joe Savage sort of said that are now kind of coming into the public domain. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the winter shutdown and how it looks a little bit, well, not a little bit, it looks highly likely that there's no chance we're going to be in after this wee break. We'll have Kevin McKenna's as players, we'll have a Shanks McCann, and then we'll just talk shite about the Ross County game. Sound good, boys?
Brilliant.
Right. Ideal.
Good. Right, Kev, will you start us off with this week's Kevin McKenna's, or do you want to go over the answers to last week's Kevin McKenna's since we missed it?
I will do. We'll do last week's. Last week's, and hopefully you've all had time to do a wee bit of research, because you would all remember exactly what I said last week about Kevin McKenna's.
Mm-hmm.
But first one, played international football for Senegal. Scored only once for the club. It was one of the 10 to be scored against Cowdenbeath, and I personally still blame him for losing our unbeaten run in the championship season.
Did we not get the answers to this? Because he's got the best chant in world football. I like to Gomis. I like to Gomis. I like to Gomis. Do.
Well-
I'm just going to sing it for the rest of the pod. You just carry on, boys.
Well, all I'll say to that is definitely not, because I would have remembered that had you went through that particular song last week.
Must have just did it in my head.
Exactly
Must have
that.
did it in
So
my head.
exactly correct. Morgaro Gomis was the answer to the first of last week's Kevin McKenna's. The second Kevin McKenna last week was a proper Rolls Royce of a player, became assistant coach of the club and signed by Jose Mourinho during his career. Did anybody get that one?
Edgaris Jankauskas.
Edgaris Jankauskas, exactly that. Big Yanni was signed.
I like the Gomis.
We'll do anything to stop Kev speaking, eh?
Don't worry, I'm actually quite enjoying it.
Mate, I can't remember where I was. I think we played Cowden Beef away. We were getting a train home and people were singing that on the train. And I was like, just wrap it, boys. Come on. This is embarrassing enough that we're in the championship. Let's leave it. Right.
So that was the two for last week. I've got two for this week, and I'll send it on maybe Thursday to you, Ando, to see if you actually put it out on the socials. But the two for you guys this week, back-to-back goals against Hibs. So back-to-back goals against Hibs. Joined from Falkirk after 146 games before going on to play for 3 seasons with the Jambos and collected 1 Scotland cap.
Are we guessing now, or?
No, we'll go back to it at the end,
Okay.
if we remember. And the second one for you guys is a highlight from the Youth Academy. There's not been many of them recently. Took years to fill his boots and then now plies his trade in the EPL.
Right.
The EPL, are we calling that the English Premier League? Is that, have I got the right league?
Well, is that English Football League? Sorry, not should be PL. It's an F that I've wrote down there. Too many beers. Sorry, apologies. EFL.
An F for
EFL, right, good.
I made a big F of that.
Aye.
Okay. I think I've got the first one. Leave me to think about the second.
Okay. Well, we'll come back to them at the end. Remember us this time, Kev, please.
Will do.
Cool.
Right, and then Shanks McCann's for last week. You want to read it out, Ando, and then we'll give you the answer.
Aye, sure. So this man scored a hat-trick against them on the final day of the previous season and then did it again when we played them in this season. It was a Sunday at Tiny. Our number 10 was running the show trying to impress Craig Brown. Tap in from 6 yards was his first on 44 minutes. His second came from 10 flicking it in. Frenchman 1-2 just after half-time. He then hits the bar with 30 to go. A free kick knocked down to his feet 8 yards out to bag his hat-trick on 85 minutes. Sargent got sent off for them at the end, and their Danish manager slavered a lot of pish post-match. So the answer to that is...
Gary McSwiggan.
It is. It's Gary McSwiggan.
Which begs the question, how the hell does Shanks know about that game?
So
something very specific must have happened to Shanks for him to know that.
I think it's maybe on... Is it maybe on like a highlights DVD or something that he got for Christmas, and that's the one that he can remember? Because I was 18 for that game, and I struggle to remember a McSwiggan hat trick back in 1999. He'd have been far younger than me. No chance. That's his own knowledge.
We were rubbish that season too. That was the money that we got win it. We just won the Scottish Cup and then got the AGM money or whatever it was, whatever they were called. Win it. And we paid money to get Jury, Petrich and McSwiggan and Stephen Mahy, I'm sure.
Aye. No, you're right. Absolutely right.
Aye.
We'll get Nemi at that time as well.
Potentially.
The only decent signing at that particular point.
Yeah, that's true. Aye. So we'll need to get Shanks. We'll need to pick his brains the next time he's here to figure out how the hell he knew that, how we knew that game. Right, cool. Brads, we've got no conundrums this week, didn't we?
No.
Magic. Great news. What a way to end the year. Right, headlines for this week. Obviously, you'll have seen today, which is the 29th Wednesday, that there's sort of coming towards the end of the John Souttar saga, if you want to call it that. It looks like he's about to sign a pre-contract with Blackburn Rovers, which, again, we've said many times on the pod, and I don't think the opinion will have changed, but we're still standing on fair play to the guy, aren't we? Or has anybody got anything different to add to that?
No, nothing at all. If he does go to Blackburn Rovers, more power to him. That'll be a life-changing transfer for him, I'm sure. And as long as he's not hopping along the M8, then that's the only thing that would annoy me. I'd still let him go. Obviously, been a great servant, but I'm glad he's going somewhere down south.
Aye, Brad, you pretty much nailed it on social media the other day as well. Like, I think people, even if we offered him, for example, £4,000, when you have 10, 12, £15,000 on the table, like, you don't turn that down, don't you?
Nah, and I think I always want players to have a bit of loyalty and all this kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, he has had 2, 3 almost career-ending injuries. You can see that he's obviously switching on, thinking about his long-term financial future, because he's just set up his own business now as well. So he's obviously thinking about the future. So he's obviously thinking, if somebody's going to pay me 12 grand a week, why the hell would I not take it? If I get injured, then it's a kind of something to fall back on. It's money in the bank.
Exactly. And like you said, it's not like we haven't had anything out of him, if you know what I mean. Like, we've had a great player, the whole time that he's played for us. Do you know what I mean? Like, you notice the difference now in for the team. You notice the difference in Halkett now that he's not playing alongside Popescu or some other absolute crap that he's had to play alongside. Makes a big difference. Do you know what I mean? We barely concede any goals. He looks great going forward. He scores goals. So it's not like we haven't benefited from having John Souttar in the team, Kev.
It's exactly that. He's been a good servant. Yes, he's had these possible career-ending injuries, but that will always sit in the back of his head. And from that point of view, I don't bear any grudge. He wants to prove his own life. From that point of view, all good.
2 shots in the one sentence for Kev.
I know. I've only got this left in my Guinness, mate. God's sake. The only one thing I'd add to that is that it's just, but it's not even an ad. It's a question. Is that I do think, while he goes with everyone's blessings, he's been a great servant. Obviously, that cannot be denied. But I do think that just because of his injuries, we could have got a little bit more value for money out of him. And that's the only thing that sticks in my throat a little bit. But other than that, cheers, man.
So if he goes now, if he goes in January, the club have to be savvy about this. They're not going to get the pay money that they thought before. But if we all see the potential that we think that he's got, you chuck on a 10%, 15% selling clause, and you hope that he kicks on and that he gets picked up by a Norwich or somebody shite like that in the bottom end of the Premier League, and they pay us some stupid amount for him, and we get our money back there.
Well, exactly. And like you said, there's ways to do it, if you know what I mean, and that's, I think, that's one of the ways that you hope that he leaves and can repay some of the loyalty, is the fact that, like you said, he can insert or make sure that there's clauses in there that get money for him as well. I would quite like for him to stay to the end of the year. I'd prefer him to sign, as mental as that sounds, I'd prefer him to sign a pre-contract with someone and leave in the summer than leave for £200,000 or whatever it is this window, if you know what I mean. He's worth more to us than 200k in terms of how he is and the impact that he'll have in the team. But I think one of the things my last point that I was going to make on John Souttar is he's kind of, for me, where I hope the club change and where I feel confident with Joe Savage is that John Souttar is like the last of the players from like the old way of running football clubs. Like, for example, I don't think Benny will get to 6 months left in his contract and leave for free. Like, I think there's a total mindset change at the club now about protecting assets, investing in the future, making sure that we don't just let players, because you think of the players over the years that have, like Aaron Hickey, for example, although we got good money for him, he was still down to 6 months left in his contract. John Souttar's down to 6 months left in his contract. You've got Kingsley, you've got Halkett, you've got Gordon, but they're guys that are kind of came in before Savage had his sort of hands on the club and making the club a little bit more professional. And I think John Souttar, touchwood, will probably be the last. Him and Kingsley potentially will be the last players, for me anyway, that will kind of come in and then run down the contract and leave for nothing. I think we'll start to see a bit of a conveyor belt of like lift and shift, almost like flipping players just to make money. So we touched on it there. We've mentioned him. Joe Savage was a Brucey bonus for the Boxing Day watch along. We didn't expect to get Mr. Savage, but he joined us anyway. Some of the things that he spoke about was quite interesting, wasn't it? It's for the guys that Kev and Brad's, me and Ando were lucky enough to be in the room when we spoke to him the last time. What was your sort of, I know it was only a brief interaction and you didn't really get to speak to him, but you've heard him. What was your kind of impressions from being able to talk to him one-to-one?
I really like his mentality. He gets you pumped up. Like as we said in the call on Sunday, like I think he gets it. He understands the club. He has ambition. Like he holds defeats. I feel like he holds defeats personally. Like, oh, I picked that player, so they should have been doing more. I expect more from them. And he said that when he spoke about Woodburn in terms of he feels accountable that he should be offering more, and he does have potential to offer more, as we've seen on Sunday. And we'll talk about it. I really like the way he speaks. I think, as I said to you boys on Sunday, I think the telling for him will be retaining some of these players. That'll show some true mantle. But actually, as you mentioned, and we don't like going over it, but the contract things, I think we have seen a change. That Nathaniel Atkinson that we have coming in, previous regimes would have had him in a 1-year contract to see how he is. He's decent, and then he would just leave. Yeah. We've got him on 3.5 years on the hopes that he is really good, and they'll punt him in a year's time. Maybe this Ogashiwa, it would be the exact same. He'll maybe be coming in for the 250k or whatever it is, and they'll punt him on again. I have no problems with that as long as the club are making good money out of it.
And thanks for taking a punt on that boy's name, because I didn't even bother to write it down. I was just going to call him the Japanese boy. So well done for having a stab at that. Kev, what about your thoughts?
I think I echo exactly what Brad has said and what Ando and yourself has said when you met with Joe earlier on in the season. He comes across very professional. I think he's looking to have the right people round about as well. I think that's another thing that maybe goes overlooked sometimes. He's actually got a really good team round about him. He's got his own scouts. We've all had we all know about the scouting network that Hearts have had over the last 20 years, not been the greatest. But he's got a really good network of people. And I think it's shown in such a short space of time how much impact he's actually had at the club. Especially when he was talking on Sunday about the fact that we do now start to look at other markets, the Asian market being one of them. And the Asian market, as he said on Sunday, that whole league system has now came to a close. So it's an opportunity to actually bring players, and if you can bring them in for 250, 350, 400, whatever it may be, even a little bit more than that, and then flip them within a 3.5-year contract to someone in the English Premier League, English Championship, whatever it may be, and you're making profit off it, yeah, don't have an issue with it at all, because it makes us as a club look great, look better as well.
Aye, and like we said on the call thing on Boxing Day as well, is that it creates a more positive cycle in terms of that. Like people saying, I've got no issue with people saying Hearts are a stepping stone club as long as it's done in the right way. Like we've had it too many times before where players have come in and said, I want to go play in the English Premier League, or I want to use Hearts as a stepping stone, and then they haven't even been able to stand out at Hearts. And you think, get your ambitions fucking in check. You can't even stand out against Hamilton, Ross County, Livingston. Do you know what I mean? But if they come in and they perform like Cammy Devlin, like Benny Banganamy, like Stephen Kingsley, like John Suter, like these guys that are actually value adding to the football team, then it's only positive for Hearts, because yeah, we might sell them, but we're getting Europe, we're finishing third, we're getting good cup runs, we're generating money. There's a feel good factor around the football club. There's ways to do both, isn't there? And it's like way Savage, it feels like we're on a totally different track than we've been before. Ando.
Aye, it's not a new thing in Scottish football. You look at Celtic. Celtic have been taking punts on relatively unknown players and punting them for English Premier League clubs, but they've become masters at it. You look at like Van Dijk, Stuart Armstrong, Edouard, just to name three, that they come in for relative pittance. They play out their skin, get a reputation, and then flip them for millions and millions of pounds. That is absolutely what we should be aiming for. But the thing is can we find the diamonds in the rough sort of thing? The Celtic have been really, really good at it, and everything that I've seen come out Savage so far just leads me to believe that I think we'll be up there when it comes to this sort of stuff now. And as long as we can get a good year, 18 months out of these players when they're on a hot streak, then we could actually be back to being a force.
Exactly. Kev, finally.
Just finally on that, I just want to say, Ando, did that really pain you to say that?
What?
Celtic have actually done well at that particular aspect.
Well, they have. It can't be denied. But yes, it does. Giving them a compliment always pains me, Kev. You know that.
I know. I just wanted to highlight it. That was all, mate.
Cheers,
so
man.
just for the people that weren't on the Boxing Day call, obviously we said at the time we didn't record it because the whole ethos of the watch along for Boxing Day was nothing to do with likes on Facebook and Twitter or views on YouTube and all that sort of stuff. It had nothing to do with that. We just wanted to bring Hearts fans together that would have potentially sat and watched it by themselves, because mental health and being engaged with your football club is more important than a few likes on YouTube. So I'll just summarise a couple of points that Joe Savage spoke to us about, just so that people that listen can know as well. We did have questions to them, and thanks to everybody that gave us their questions to ask. One of the people in the call asked about the contract situation because it was a bit of the elephant in the room. Savage basically explained that we have made offers to Suter, Kingsley and Halkett. That the club's position is we've offered them the best that we can offer and we won't chase them. He wasn't worried about the situation. He said that, the ball's pretty much in the players' court. They can come chap doors or whatever, chase the club rather than the club chase them. So that's kind of the stance that we have there. Somebody then also asked the question about Craig Gordon, because obviously Craig Gordon is probably the number one priority in terms of an extension, and it's that thing that it almost seems like a formality that he'll sign a contract extension. So someone asked Savage the question and he kind of smiled, a wry smile, to say that he was more than confident that Craig Gordon would remain at the football club. Obviously, you'll have seen today in the evening news that they're running stories that there's clubs in England going to try and go south of the border. I would personally say I can't see that happening. I have absolutely no doubt that Craig Gordon will be the Hearts goalkeeper next year. Well, maybe 75% confident that he'll be the Hearts goalkeeper because it's Hearts. But that was pretty much it. Some of the other stuff that was quite impressive, as you spoke about there, about taking punts. Well, Joe Savage explained to us how we managed to bring players like Cammy Devlin and Nathaniel Atkinson in due to like the sort of working permit stuff. He said that when we submitted 100-page dossier on Nathaniel Atkinson explaining how he's a high performer, how we think we can make big money from him, and how he needs to get these exceptions to get a working permit. So it's no joke behind the scenes, which brings us on to our next bit. One of the other questions which kind of stumped them, which was quite funny, was someone asked, I hear that we're interested in signing players from the J League. Is there any truth that we're interested in that market? And after the first time we spoke to Joe Savage, he was very, very, very bullish about not doing other clubs' work for them. He basically told us that he'd stopped all leaks to the press and was working very, very, very hard to make sure that the club's business was done behind closed doors, so that no one knew what we were up to until it was done. So to say that he was shocked to know that someone had had that, because later on that night it emerged that Hearts had a bid accepted, or a bid tabled for, go for it, Brad, say it again.
Ogashawa.
Well, actually, that's not that bad. There we go. It's a bit quiet now. Some rumours are saying that the boys turned us down or the club's turned us down, but it's not really been confirmed or whatever. But Brads, have you seen anything of them? Do you watch any of the videos that were kicking about?
I watched obviously his wee promo video that the club had put out, or I don't know if it was his agency video. And he's a wee laddie, so he's obviously playing off a second striker or potentially that 10 role. Again, we've all said that we need wee bit more support for Boise. He could factor into that front three, I think, quite easily as one of the wider players right in there. But as I've always pointed out, I think we need another person in there that can't just be Boise the focal point for everything, too easy to defend against. So if we've got 2 or 3 up there, that it becomes almost unplayable against them. So absolutely, if they can get somebody in that's a talented player like that, then it's all for me. I'm all for it.
Kev, it was quite interesting hearing Joe Savage explain the sort of work permit workarounds and how Scotland is a bit of an advantage to the English leagues over it, wasn't it? Without getting boring and getting into French legal laws like we did in the first couple of podcasts. It was quite interesting.
It just shows you the level of work that goes on in the background to make sure that, in regards to getting a work permit, for example, you mentioned about the 100-page dossier for the lad Atkinson. That's the level of expertise that now goes into actually recruiting a player. And from the interview we had with Savage back in August, he talks about how they also not only put the club forward to the player, they also put round about, what the city is, where, what the sort of areas that are nice to live in, and all the greatest things about Edinburgh. And Edinburgh is a great city. So it's not just a case of sitting on the table and offering an actual contract to a guy. There's a lot of work that goes on in the background. And that goes back to, again, as I said earlier, the professionalism of what the club now are starting to do. And that comes from a lot of different angles nowadays, rather than just from the chairman or chairwoman or whatever. It's now coming from all areas of the club. And I just, I thank Joe for being honest with us. I think that was another thing that took me aback a little bit, was that we didn't expect him to come on the pod but on the watch back. And from that point of view, he came on, he was candid, shared the joke with a few of us as well, which was great. Just shows the sort of person that Joe Savage actually is. And from that point of view, I thought it was a great insight.
Your mate, Joe.
Matt Savage was. There was one bit of not disappointing news, but I suppose it was the sort of the news that we all kind of were expecting. And it was obviously we got the pleasure of speaking to Ham Budge. Again, one of the questions was just around the whole lockout and the fact that there was no fans at Tynecastle on Boxing Day and stuff. And someone made the point about, well, it's a necessary evil if it means that fans are back after the 3-week shutdown. And Budge pretty much said that she'd be very, very, very surprised if fans were back in any capacity after the 3-week shutdown. That's a bit of a kick in the teeth, isn't it?
Yep. I don't know. She's not going to have any more advanced knowledge than anyone else, I would suppose. But you know that people in football are going to be well connected, and I'm pretty sure they're all part of some big chairman or chairwoman, chairperson's WhatsApp group chat. And the fact that she came out and just been negative straight off the bat is that, well, not negative, but more pessimistic. Doesn't fill you with any confidence at all. And then if you look at obviously stuff that's been reported in the media today, to do with how the First Minister's been challenged on football crowds, then I don't think we're getting back anytime soon. And it's right to be disheartened about it, because we've come out of such a good place so far this season, and to go back to where we were, it's just going to be shit.
Right. Brad, who do you think Budge goes after in our group chat out of us? Do you think she goes for Shanks? Has she got pictures of Shanks with nan breads for heads? Or anything like that? She ever went to a stag do dressed as Shanks?
She's definitely going after Shanks after he tried to coin some money back. Tight bastard.
That was a moment of gold.
You'll have to explain for the people that weren't on the watch along.
I could give the actual answer, but I'll give you my
give the made up answer. It's funnier.
Effectively, Shanks just asked Budge if she could reimburse him for his match day ticket, because he's already paid for that, and he kens that she's minted. He knows exactly how much she sold her company for. So could she personally reimburse him and other fans for their lost money?
Then when she said no, he shat himself. I was like, sorry, Miss Budge. Sorry, I'm Budge. Absolute shite bag. Right, cool. Anything else caught your eye this week in the world of football? Anything that you just want to talk about?
Just one thing, and it goes back to the Boxing Day call, is that obviously we got the man of the match on for an interview afterwards, just for a good 5-10 minutes. Again, for those of you that never heard it, and the question was put to Chopper Herring about his contract negotiation situation, and he said quite bluntly that he's not in contract negotiation talks with anyone just now. And am I right in saying he runs out at the end of this season, so it'll be May 2022? Now we didn't speak about it much at the time, but then Peter Herring, let him go, or do you fight to keep him?
Yeah, you fight to keep Peter Herring.
Exactly. Why is that
he-
not a worry?
No, my favourite thing about that was when he was just hanging behind Kat's shoulder on the call, like a wee Wednesday, and he was like looking over her shoulder to see what was happening on the Zoom and that. And I was like, what's going on here? What's happening? Aye, no, you'd absolutely keep Peter Herring. We've got to. We get him to stay. Brad, so you're going to say something?
Well, I was just looking at the names of players who are out of contract just now.
I don't. It's scary.
Right, are they staying or are they going? I'll
Right,
fire
go for
through it quickly. Gordon,
Yes.
Stay.
Staying.
Herring,
Staying.
I think he'll stay.
Suter,
Going.
Gone.
Halkett,
Stay.
Stay.
Yep.
Smith,
Stay.
Kingsley,
Going.
Think he's
Walker,
going.
Stay.
Going.
Halliday,
Going.
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 and then we've got obviously our lone boys as well, Cochrane and Moore.
Aye, going.
Yep, that's worrying.
Mikey Smith potentially will go as well, if I'm being honest with you.
So
I think
I was talking about this earlier. Smith, I'm sure the last time his contract came up, it was his missus that made him stay because she's well happy in Edinburgh. The kids are at school here and all happy. So I think he said that in his interview, like she wanted to stay and she's keen to stay. So might determine it. Might sound
And
perhaps.
every single time, and Adam Eckersley, well,
Right.
every single time we doubt Mikey Smith, he comes like, for example, 2 o'clock Boxing Day. You see Mikey Smith playing midfield. Everybody is like, what the fuck? What's he playing there for? And we say it, every Hearts fan falls into the trap all the time, is that Mikey Smith never drops below 7 out of 10. He is literally Mr. Consistent. Like, and I feel he's one of those people that, like, you feel sorry for him when you doubt him. Like, I feel sorry for him when I doubt him because he never lets you down. Do you know what I mean?
I want his goal celebration from now on, just to run around the whole crowd like that.
Aye.
Fucking
But
engage.
Get up.
It's the reverse psychology thing. I can't help just feeling a little bit, oh God, Mikey Smith's playing in that position, knowing secretly that he's going to bang a goal in after 5 minutes. And you're just like, yes, get in me, man.
And he should have actually scored another one. His toe poke
Aye.
was an actual harder chance than an easier chance than his goal, probably. But the contract situation is something. You're right, Brad. It's kind of terrifying. It's kind of terrifying.
The one plus point though, and I don't want to jinx it, so touch wood. There you go, hitting it. We are most likely going to have European football next year. That's going to be a selling point.
Nosedive.
No, no.
Oh, sorry. I forgot Loic Demure as well. Does he stay? Or does he go?
He can fuck off.
And Popescu, he's still in our books.
I forgot. But he's
but
fucking
Popescu's
struggling
out
at Hamilton, isn't he?
Aye.
Struggling at Hamilton.
He'll-
Right. Well, we touched on it there. Let's talk about the last game of 2021, played at home to Ross County on Saturday. 2-1 to the Hearts. It could have been 5-0. It could have been 2 each. It was, in a nutshell, 45 minutes summed up how good Hearts can be. 45 minutes summed up how poor or inconsistent Hearts can be. So we'll go for the first half. I watched the highlights back because we were watching it on that stuttering live feed thing that gave me epilepsy, man. What I say, read I had the next game day, it was outrageous. And you didn't really, because we're obviously, there's loads of folk on the call, we're all talking, having a bit of banter and all that sort of stuff, but Hearts played really, really well for the first 45 minutes. Ross County could not handle the movement. Mackay, Woodburn, they were just McAneff as well, just constantly rotating. Woodburn was brilliant, superb, playing through the middle. I know people have said that that's his position, and where we probably get the best out of him. But At Tynecastle, definitely. He played there for parts against Dundee United, which would have been arguably probably his second best game in maroon. But he was great. I thought Smith and Halliday and Haring. Did Halliday play?
Yeah.
Aye. I thought they all played really well. I do like Hearts better when we've got Taylor Moore and Cochrane. I think we look more balanced as a team, I think. But first half we absolutely blew them away. The first goal, you think McInnes probably annoyed he doesn't score because it's probably an easier finish than Smith's, but then Smith's doing what you want from a midfielder, which, to be honest, it's the irony is that Mikey Smith wouldn't play in front of Devlin or Benny, but Benny or Devlin wouldn't score that goal. They wouldn't be there. Do you know what I mean? They wouldn't be following in. So it's a total weird one that you've got a right back playing at centre mid that's got more attacking sense than our two midfielders. And then Peter Haring's pass for the second is just phenomenal. And John Souttar just decided to hit post, bar, keeper, everything that he wanted.
Just anything in white.
Brad's, how impressed were you with the first half?
Yeah, I thought it was brilliant. As you said, I had to watch it back. Because as you said, I was blithering and that shitty feed, I missed like 3 or 4 of the chances as well. So I think we missed the one where Souttar hit the post. So we created plenty. Again, that hasn't been an issue so much for us this year. If you look at our stats in terms of chances created, we have been there. It's finishing them. We could have had that game to bed and not worried about the second half.
See, talking about stats, I mean that utterly depressing or embarrassing Celtic stats thing where they've got themselves top of the league for expected goals or something.
Expected points.
It's all about.
It's funny though, isn't it?
They take, I don't know how they do their algorithm, but effectively it's what the points you should be getting based on the results plus the scoreline, and then future predicting. So we're 5th actually, and we're not even a European spot anymore.
And he keeps telling us, keeps saying that we're overperforming and that we're going to fall out, and Hibs are the 3rd best team in the league, and Celtic are the best team in the league. It's like, this is utterly depressing.
I'm gonna have a look at that because it basically sounds like someone's homework has been, they've handed in the homework. No, sir, I should be getting a fucking A rather than a C minus.
My favourite thing about that is it'll be like a 50-year-old man sitting in his house missing Christmas dinner. His wife going, "Come and get your turkey, Anthony." Nah, I'm up the stairs proving Celtic are better than Rangers. Brilliant.
Because it'll be all opinion based as well. It won't even be anything to do with maths.
No, listen, I thought we were really good. And as you said, Woodburn's good through the central, but starting off wide and then cutting in, I just think that's him. That should be Mackay Stevens. That should be what Gino does. In fact, not actually. Gino's better running down the line, boys. But that's what we wanted to see from these inverted wingers, is them cutting in. That's where he gets his goal. Created plenty of opportunities from that. It looked like he was playing with a wee bit more confidence and freedom. I'm absolutely all for that. We need to take that going forward.
I agree. Kev, you can't help but think, and I know that this is all if Manty had boys in it, also falls back into the old goals conceded as well if we didn't have Craig Gordon type stuff, but someday, one day, it's going to click into place for Hearts and we're going to batter somebody.
We've been saying it for months. We've been saying it for months that it's going to happen. I think the problem we've all probably now got is, when is it going to happen? Because as you rightly say, if you take the chances that we created on Sunday, we're 4-0 up at half time. I know that, and I don't know why, but the second half we took the foot off the gas. The opposition's always going to come out in the second half and really try and go the first 5 minutes. For whatever reason, we couldn't have, we just couldn't sort of accept that on Sunday. We were all over the place in the second half. But if we take our chances from everything that we created in the first half, we don't have to worry about the second half. And that goes back to what Robbie was like the first time he was in charge. He had them doing sort of more sessions and training. They were doing 2 and 3, 3 different sessions a day. They were hitting teams right from the off, so much so that they didn't have to worry about the second half. And there's certain times that we look at the first half performance and you think that's exactly what Robbie's asked for. You've actually listened to him on this occasion, but for whatever reason, we just aren't hitting the back of the net, and that's something that needs to be highlighted.
And aye, you're right, and I think there's a couple of things at play in the second half we'll talk about in a wee second. But Ando, again, just what impressed you about the first half?
Just the intensity. In one word, intensity. It was just constantly go forward, constantly pressing for opportunities. There was not much in that first half that I don't think we fucked up on. Again, to everyone else's points, it's difficult. I haven't actually had the time to go back and watch the highlights, and obviously I was trying to manage all that stuff that happened. But the thing for me was we spent most of the time in their half. It was just the intensity we showed from minute one, and that absolutely fantastic. To your point, Kev, about trying to properly hook it up and give someone an absolute shagging. I know we've been dancing around it all year, but you look at our run up of games that's coming up next. It was like obviously when things do go back to normal. When the football comes back on, like apart from the Scottish Cup away game against Auchinleck, we're at home for the next three league matches in a row. Someone's going to take it properly there. But to answer your question, Corbett, intensity. That's what I liked about the first half.
Aye, and I think a lot of that comes from like Barry Mackay is so underrated for Hearts. When Hearts are good, Barry Mackay is good. When Hearts are rubbish, Barry Mackay is rubbish. He's so integral to everything that we do. Just his runs, how well he is on the ball. He's direct. He makes good passes. He's got good movement, and he was great in the first half as well. Like I think him and Woodburn, they were class. They were constantly moving about. Energy of McAniff, it was really impressive. And then again, like we said there, Kev touched on it. It was night and day in the second half. If you want to give excuses, then there was a couple of things at play. Like you think, right, you're 2-0 up, Boxing Day, 20,000 inside Tynecastle. You've got a bit of a lull. You start the second half. Ross County are always going to get their arse kicked at half time. They're always going to come out, start the second half a little bit more aggressive, a bit more tempo. They're 2-0 down. They've got nothing to lose. That's when fans kick in. If it's a half chance, a corner, a tackle, the fans start singing, gets the players going. I think we had that little dip, that little lull that then coincided with the disruption of the injuries. Halkett goes off. You have to bring on Kingsley, who probably is on the bench to fill numbers because of the potential COVID outbreak that we have at the club. That knocks your rhythm, and then we bring Jamie Walker on as well to see come on for Woodburn.
Yeah.
And then what was the last substitution as well?
Halliday went off for GMS.
We did that because I was moaning about GMS, didn't I? So
Woodburn went off for GMS.
Who did Walker come on for?
McAniff.
All right, cool. So the game's disrupted by the injury to Halkett, and again, for as much as we've dug out Halkett before, you'd notice a massive difference in us when he's not in the park. Like, as much as John Souttar's class, and we all love John Souttar or whatever, but Halkett, when he goes off, we just look disorganised. Like we seem all over the place. Like we didn't know. We just completely lost our rhythm, Brads.
Yeah, I think we asked Peter Harron the question on Sunday. Did you think Halkett's injury caused an issue? And he was defensive and said no. But watching it back, their game plan was to knock it long the second half and force us deep. And they did that with effect because effectively our wing backs didn't get far enough forward because they were panicking, they were dropping so deep. And because Halkett's gone off, I think it's subconscious that Harron and probably Smith Seeper, which means we have no middle of the park and the ball's just being cleared, nobody there to gather, Ross County regain possession, do the same again and keep knocking it along. And we were too slow again, back out and pressing that, as Ando said, that intensity that we had pressing forward in the first half. That was the biggest difference for me.
Agreed. And it was like you said, Ross County got 10 yards further up the park. We couldn't get the ball moving through the middle of the park as much as we wanted. It wasn't sticking up front type thing. And you've got to give, as much as you didn't want to, but you've got to give Ross County some credit because they started to get some of their good players in. That was it
Charles
Cook or
Cook.
whatever?
Charles Cook was different class.
He was brilliant in the second half, caused us loads and loads and loads of trouble. We just couldn't handle him. There was really warning shots from slack passes and slack marking and stuff before their actual goal. So you couldn't really complain with the equaliser. And then how the hell did they know equalise in like the last minute, Kev, where you were about to get kicked off the wall because you could see it before we could see it, and I wanted to punch your fucking lights out.
I still don't have a clue. I went back and watched it 4 times to try and work out how the guy missed it. I've got no idea whatsoever, other than it reminded me of schoolboy football, where somebody shouts "mine," just everybody leaves it. It just was honestly, it was mental. I have no idea. And if that had been the other end of the park, I think we would all be absolutely calling for somebody's head. Let's put it that way.
Did Randall not kick it into the back of Hubble?
Aye, he did. But it was a handball and all that and everything in there. It was like the weirdest. It was like the weirdest thing ever. Then there's the other header as well that flashed across the face of the goal that Craig Gordon just nonchalantly went like that.
He does.
Like,
you know what?
What are you doing, man?
See, when you see it at the game, right? You see it at the game, and you've got full confidence in him because you've got better depth perception when you're actually at the game. See, when you see that on a screen or like laptop, telly, whatever it is, and he just does that, you go, "Fuck!" You're just waiting for the ball to bulge into the corner of the net and go, "Dickhead!" But thankfully, it's not happened for a while.
That's true. But that does the second. Those 45 minutes kind of sum up Hearts this season so far, haven't they? All the best attributes, all the worst attributes.
Consistently inconsistent is the best way to put it.
Aye, and that's I suppose that is the level that we're at. Do you know what I mean? That's what happens with the type of players that we can afford to buy type things. But I must say that I do like the way we play football at Tynecastle. Like we've just got this sort of, it's not gung ho, but when you think of like when we were at our worst under Craig Levein, we couldn't. I think it was 8 out of 10 of the last games against Ross County have ended in a draw. Mm-hmm. Even at Tynecastle, we couldn't beat Ross County, couldn't beat Hamilton, we couldn't beat Livingston, couldn't beat a Motherwell, couldn't beat a Kilmarnock. Think of the teams that have come to Tynecastle, got points and left, and you think, what the hell, man? If you take care of your home form, then you're always in with a chance of being there or thereabouts. But it's not just winning at home. The style that we have at home, I really like. Like you said, we front free, proper free at the back, get bodies forward, play with intensity, and it's good to see. So more of that in 2022, please. Right, we'll end it unless anybody's got any other observations of the game you wanted to talk about.
No.
Shite with no fans in it. You can't just. We can't ignore it.
Well, the watch along was good, right? I mean, it's a good carry on, bringing people together and all that sort of stuff. I'd rather have a watch along while you use dickheads in the stadium and everybody else around you. There's no getting away for that fact. Just get us back in as soon as, man. Come on, let's stop fucking about. Right, so obviously Ross County was our last game of 2021. Let's do a wee roundup. We'll go of 2021. We'll go through basically games, goals, save, players, and your favourite moment. We'll go each category, round the table, and we'll go bit to bit. So, game of 2021. Brads, I'll come to you first. What was your game of 2021?
So the championship season's dead to me. I don't want to ever remember that.
I don't want to ever remember it. Yep.
Correct.
I am going for our 5-2 win against Dundee United.
Yes. What for? Just because it was
everything that I expect Hearts to do on a weekly basis, and they managed it for 1 week.
Woo! It was a big moment. Kev.
I went for the opening game of the season, our 2-1 victory against Celtic, for 2 reasons. One, it's always lovely to beat any of the Old Firm in the dying minutes of a match. So from that point of view, it was great. And also from the point of view, I was really pushed on the on the live YouTube. So I have went back and watched that a couple of times, and I was really pissed that night. It was great.
It was great. I remember it well.
Do you make a habit of doing that? Go back and watching yourself reeking just to, I was really funny there.
No, it wasn't from that point of view. It was somebody, somebody at work had actually said that they'd went watched it, and I'd said something. I had to go back and make sure I hadn't, and they had just been pulling my leg. But I did also enjoy watching Shanks just with his hands up in the air like that for about a good 25 minutes.
Fair enough.
It was a good moment. Ando, what was yours?
Well, I cheated. So I done games. One game that I was at and one game that I wasn't at, and those were the two. The 5-2 win against Dundee United I was at, and the 2-1 victory against the Celtic, where I unfortunately wasn't at because none of us were. I don't think. So yeah, that was the two. I picked. You'd struggle to find a better two games than that in 2021.
Well, Kev, that would have been my game, a 2-1 at home with a last-minute winner against Celtic if we'd been there. But none of these games watching on live streams or in the house are any good. Do you know what I mean? Like, they don't beat limbs. Actually, I was thinking about this the other day. I'm trying to remember the last time we had limbs, like proper limbs at a game. Probably Easter Road 3-1, wasn't it? Or
yeah.
Try to think, no, against Hibs the last time. Fucking didn't score against Rangers. It's been ages since we've had proper scenes. My game of 2021 is a pure soppy one, but as much as I said I hated reduced crowds or games behind closed doors, it was, did we play Cove Rangers? Was that the team when we played? We interviewed Joe Savage, but then it was the first game back. It was the first time we'd been allowed inside Tynecastle since the pandemic. Got to go with you boys. It was class. Shite team.
13th of July 2021.
There you go.
And you said Cochrane was pish.
And I said Alex Cochrane was too lightweight and couldn't play as a left wing back in this league if he was being bullied off Cove Rangers. But we all make mistakes. Let's move on.
Just to validate you there, I said the same thing because his first corner didn't clear the first man in that game, and I shouted to Tam.
We wrote him off.
I was like, Tam, he's fucking shite. He can't clear a corner. His first corner in this league, not even in this league, but in this fucking stadium, can't he clear the first man? He's pish, bin him. How wrong we were.
That was a good game to get to be with you boys, but plus be back inside Tynecastle, what it felt like an absolute eternity. So that was my game of 2021. Brad, so in fact, and I'll go reverse order this time. Goal of 2021.
The obvious answer would be to pick any one of the Stephen Kingsley World free kicks, which I'm not going to do. I'm going to say John Souttar's winner against Celtic. I know I wasn't there and didn't experience it for myself, but you've no idea how much I pissed off the fucking neighbours when that went in. It was I was unbelievable. All the venom that had been built up in me for fucking ages and probably years all came out in about 90 seconds after that. Out taps off, running around the living room, out into the driveway, halfway up the street to the post box and back. Fucking what a goal. Absolutely sensational.
I'll give you. Kev?
Again, exactly as Ando says, you can pick out a number of free kicks from Kingsley, but I went for Ben Woodburn's second goal against Dundee United in the 5-2 victory. Just a general technique of how he's taken that ball. I must admit at the time I thought, what the fuck's he doing? As it sailed into the back of the net. So that was my goal of 2021.
Yep, Brad's.
I'm not going to pick the obvious as well. So I've gone for a Kingsley free kick in St Mirren. Just because I fucking hate St Mirren. So there you go.
No arguments from me. Absolutely no arguments from me. Fair and exactly how it should be. My goal of 2021 is John Souttar's versus Dundee. It's an absolute peach. You'd be taken into consideration if that had been Boyce, you'd be like unreal. But the fact that it's your centre half, 20 yards out, caresses it into the top bag, and the fact that he was a ball hair away from doing it a game later in Perth against St Johnstone as well, was superb. So 2 John Souttar nominations there for the goal of 2021.
Shanks has text me and he said his is Aaron Hickey at Easter Road.
Aye, Easter Road in the 3-1. The 3-1 match Easter Road that Aaron Hickey never played in.
Brilliant.
Magic. Right, save. Fuck, we could be here all night. Save 2021. Brad's, you got a favourite one?
Yeah, mine's is save against Jason Holt in the Livy game, and anything else is wrong.
Well, I'm going to back you up on that because I, like the previous question, have cheated and said it wasn't just one save. It was a succession of 3 saves in that game. Shenny, Holt, and whoever the other was. Sorry, Tam. But yeah, you're right. Anything else is wrong.
I would agree. Kev, did you get one?
No, I haven't yet, and I would wholeheartedly agree with everybody else's. That save against in the game against Livy was top draw. But another one I'd like to also call out is he makes a save from, I think it's Ralston, at the end of the Celtic game. He comes out and I think he gets like a shoulder to it, and it goes past for a corner. The importance of that particular save is just as important as the world he had at Almond Vale. Tony
James
Macaroni
Forrest as well, I think.
Was it Forrest?
It was James
Yeah,
Forrest.
he had 2 at the end of the game, didn't he?
Aye, you could, like you said, the double save against Motherwell is ridiculous. We don't talk about it because we got scudded 2-0 and no one talks about it, but that save is outrageous. I will also say the triple save at the Spaghetti had, purely because 9 times out of 10 when Craig Gordon makes saves, you kind of think he knows what he's doing. Like, as in, he'll embellish it a wee bit. He's totally confident that he's getting there. Gives a wee wry smile to the camera and all that sort of stuff. But those 3 saves are literally just pure instinct, and you can tell by his reaction after it. He just fucking loses it to be like, fucking hell, I'm amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was class to see. So, there we go. It's a real shame that fucking Cheesy never featured in that list, wasn't it?
I thought Kev was going to say that. Oh, it's Ross Stewart's save against Sunderland in the pre-season.
The pre-season friendly, in the pre-warm-up. In the warm-up versus Sunderland, it was really good. Right, I feel like
save against.
Go on, we kind of missed this opportunity here about a save. Ross, fucking Cheesy Stewart.
I just said he never made any saves, including that Scottish Cup game against Forest Mechanics or whoever the fuck it was.
Right. Player of 2021. Ando, I'll come in reverse order. I'll come to you first. Who is your player of 2021?
I felt long and hard about this, but there've been a lot of returning. A lot of guys that have come in and been brilliant. But for me, it's my main man. It's Liam Boyce. It just is. It's like if we look at everything that he does is absolutely brilliant. When he's in a game, he makes a difference. Is what I think 11 goals for the season so far. Gets a goal every 142 minutes, I think it is, because I checked this out earlier because I knew it was going to get asked. It's Liam Boyce for me, all hands down. Second place, very close second would be Craigie, but for me it's Boyce.
Kev.
I went with Craig Gordon. I think we've already touched on the actual saves he's had this year. If we start to equal that a number of saves and the kind of points that he's actually earned the club and earned the team over the year, he's probably earned more points for us than possibly Boyce. There's definitely somebody out there in Twitter land or wherever that could probably tell us one way or the other, but I think he's invaluable to the team, and it's probably why, as Joe said on Sunday, that even Ann Budge is having a word in his shell, like to try and get him on a new contract. So yeah, Craig Gordon for me.
Fair. Brad's?
For me, obviously, Craigie was the easy answer, but we know what to expect for him. We know what he does. We know what he produces. For me, my player of the year has been Cammy Devlin. And I know from a technical point of view, he's not our best player. But for me, he embodies everything I want a Hearts player to do in terms of that tenacity, that bite, that fight, gets the crowd, he understands what it's to be, he brings constant energy. I mean, that usually because he's lost the ball, but that constant energy and just that full shithousery. That's what we need. And I feel like he is personally getting a bit more atmosphere at Tynecastle. We're getting behind him, we're buying into what he's doing. I don't think there's anybody on that pitch out of the 22 players that join it that's happier to be a footballer than him. So that's why he's mine.
I agree. I agree with everything that you've said. I think he's been a brilliant addition. But my nomination will be my player of 2021 will be the exact same as Kev's, because Craig Gordon, just take away what he does on the park, because we know, like you said, Brad, we know what to expect for Scotland's number one. He's at actual top class, world class keeper. He'll be up there as one of the best, if not the best, goalkeepers in Britain currently. But I felt for ages that, and it's you kind of touched on it when we talk about Cammy Devlin, we've missed something that I see as what I expect from Hearts. Like that feeling around the club that people knew what it was. If you like it, the last club captain, Berra, you look at how he left the club, how he treated the club, how he spoke after it. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's not to say that he didn't get the club or whatever, and he was there on shite times and all that. I get all that, but Craig Gordon just understands Hearts. Like, do you know what I mean? Like he sort of reminds me good times. He's won trophies with Hearts. He knows what the fan base wants. And he's never too high. He's never too low. And you can see that people he gives everybody else in the team a boost. You know, it gives Suter and Halkett and Kingsley confidence to go 10 yards further up the park than they would normally. It gives Haring and Devlin and Benny the sort of confidence to try a Cruyff or a wee nice pass here or take a man on and drive on, because they have that pure feeling of that safety net behind them where they know even if they fuck it up, the chances of them scoring are slim to none because the goalkeeper is so good. And I think that's made such a massive difference to Hearts all over the park. So that's why I think Craigie G is Team Handsome's player of the year, like for me, or player of 2021. Right.
Couldn't have said any of that 2 years ago, could you?
No, could you fuck me? Could you fuck Joe Pereira? I didn't want him to talk about Joe Pereira. It still bugs me. It still.
He's out of contract in the summer.
Well, good. Sign him up for the podcast. Sign him up for the podcast.
He's not coming on here to make an ass of it.
I still, sometimes when I'm bored, right, I will Google Hearts v Falkirk in the Scottish Cup to watch some of his goalkeeping. There is points of that game where he's guarding the white line on his 6-yard box. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's not the post. You are literally 15 yards out your goal. What are you doing? There's a shot where they hit the post, a toe poke. It hits the post, and I'll put a picture in the group chat because it bugs me. He is literally standing. If that's the 6-yard box, like that, he is literally outside of the 6-yard box, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, honest to God, what are you doing? Right, your favourite moment of 2021. So, Brad's, I'll come to you. What has been your favourite moment of the year? So, podcast or game or whatever.
Do you want a bit of both?
Go for it.
Right, I've got a few actually, and there's so many we could, and hopefully you boys you'll touch on a few of them as well. My one is almost the same as your score, but I put down 13th of July 2021, Cove Rangers, and that boy singing the Hearts song in the last minute of the game, chills down my back.
Aye, here to that guy.
That I was almost greeting. I think I was sitting next to you, Claude, but we were both kind of shaky lip moment, like, I'm not greeting, you're greeting.
Aye.
Just happy to be back and just seeing your team, seeing the crowd, seeing your pals. That just meant masses to me. The other thing that again, so many things we've done as a pod this year, and you boys deserve all the credit for it because I don't fuck all. I loved getting the Zal flag. For me, he is a player that I admired. I loved. We see how the club's been kind of hit and rocked, and the supporters have been rocked with motor neurons disease and how fucking terrible it is, and the fact that we've been able to contribute something to that and potentially a legacy of taking this flag forward and young boys taking it forward in years to come. That for me is a great moment for 2021 for me.
Here, Brads. Nice. Kev.
Exactly what I wrote down is the unveiling of the ZAL flag. I think the first game that we actually unveiled it was the Aberdeen game.
Celtic game.
You could probably put it as the. Did we have it at the Celtic game?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't, but I think Tam was at Celtic game, wasn't he? No, we arranged. Tam was there, but we arranged it for somebody to get it into the stand for us.
Well, as I've made an absolute shanks of that, my personal favourite moment was me personally being involved in the unveiling of the ZAL flag, which I think was the Albion game. It is, as Brad's just said, it's poignant. I heard, well, I think we all know now that MMD is going to be shirt sponsor for next season as well. I don't know the guy. I know there's a number of yous know of him or do know him in person is Stevie Morris, and I think the little video that the club put out just the other week there just resonates what motor neurons disease actually means. It's a horrible disease. It's something I would never wish on my worst enemy. And to see that we've had the chance to actually have a little bit of an input from as a small podcast that is 6 guys talking absolute shite. It's just actually it's huge and it's poignant as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, that was my favourite moment of the year from a podcast point of view, and it as far as I'm concerned overshadows most of the things that we've done even on the park.
Nice, Kev. Ando.
I can't disagree with anything that you've said, and I actually feel bad for not thinking about that. So emotionally, you've given me a right kick in the fucking stains there. But
well, people already know you're heartless, so it's fine.
Well, this is true. From a purely selfish standpoint, my favourite moment was 20th of November. Now, that was the Motherwell away day that we had, right? So that I know we got fucking horsed in that game, but that was the first time I'd been at an away game for a long time. Everything about that day was brilliant, bar the performance and the result. I loved everything about it. The travel up, getting steaming by myself on the train as I tend to do, meeting one of the shit things was obviously having to sit next to Kev on the bus. But apart from that, it's just that whole day. It was brilliant. Special notice to Tam, who wiped out a table of bevies with his belly. But I don't think we mentioned it at the time to save his embarrassment, but he's not here to defend himself. So I think I broke a rib or came close to fucking breaking a rib, sorry, when that happened. I completely lost it. It was just, I got swept up in the whole occasion of that day. It was absolutely phenomenal. So for that, my favourite point of 2021 was Motherwell away with you boys at the end of November. I couldn't give a fuck that we got beat 2-0. Doesn't matter. We're still third. Fuck you, Motherwell.
You broke a rib and Tam ate some ribs.
All the ribs.
It was a lovely day. That's fair. That's cool. You covered pretty much everything that would feature in my own favourite moment of 2021. I think being able to go to football with you guys, when pals, just 3,000-4,000 Hearts fans got away days as class, 20,000 Hearts fans going to Tynecastle for home games, being able to get the flag out, but that's not just our flag, it's everybody's flag, like, do you know what I mean, and seeing the response that it gets when it's out as class. The money, what Andrew, you'll be able to tell us, we've raised, like, for a podcast, it's just 6 boys talking shit, as Kev says, what, $7,000 or something like that, close to $7,000 we've raised.
Oh, I'm sure it was a lot more than that. But I don't have it.
We've done in two initiatives that we've done, a ticket drive and the ZAL flag or whatever has been superb. But probably the biggest moment for me was just and it's something that I've said before, probably won't sink in until you're telling your kids or your grandkids about it, is we got to be part as a podcast of the Foundation of Hearts Day, the when the Foundation of Hearts become the majority shareholder of the football club. And to think where we've all been, I was at Stockton for the Save Our Hearts rallies. I walked to Tynecastle. I was there for the Black Balloon Day against Rangers. I was at the protest outside the main stand where we tried to storm the front door. I was raiding and stealing poppy tins to get money for the club and smashing up cash cows and all that to fix us for Romanoff, and to be standing inside Tynecastle with a brand new stand watching the owner hand over to the fans was just like, what the hell, man, this is surreal. And again, that I wouldn't personally have got to do that if it wasn't for you guys on the podcast as well, because obviously you can have great ideas, and Ando and Tam will verify that I'm a constant menace of what about this idea, what about that idea, what about this idea. But to bring it to life and make it practical and actual do it, that's where the brains of Tam and Ando and you guys help and kick in and make us take my stupid wee idea that's in my head and make it reality. So, I thank you guys for that. But also just thank the people that fucking listen and download it. It still blows my mind that people listen to this, that not just listen to it but enjoy it and get behind it. Like, you think of what we've been able to do, give away over 100 tickets. We've had Gary Locke standing in fucking folks' houses, keynote tracksuits and everything. We've made a fucking 60-foot flag that Brad says will be here for the rest of our lives or whatever, and that was sitting in our kitchens doing Zoom quizzes. So, unbelievable. But the Heart and Soul Day at Tynecastle will be probably my favourite moment from a whole perspective, because I think it just sort of went everything full circle, didn't it? It just encapsulated everything that's great about Hearts just now. So that would be my favourite moment.
Actually, I've had a look just while you were talking there about like the amount of people that listen to us. If I have a look at the stats, does anyone want to take a guess at how many unique plays we've had? And when I say unique plays, this is someone hitting like go on a version of the podcast. I'll give you a point. See, whoever can get closest. In all our history, and this isn't YouTube, this is just the audio podcast. How many listens have we had?
6 billion.
6 no, 6 billion. You're a bit short of that, right? Okay.
He's getting no points. Bad dog. 100,000.
Okay.
135,000.
Okay, well, you're not too far away. We actually have, as of half an hour ago, because it's a live stats thing, 124,162 listens. So that's a shitload.
It's never close to 6 billion. It's push.
I know.
Must try harder.
I'm going to go back and listen to. I'm going to listen to all of our back catalogue again on repeat. Loading the Wi-Fi across the UK, just listening to us. But looking at that, that's a massive, massive number. 125,000 folks. So that might actually just be my new favourite moment, is realising how many people have actually listened to us in the last 18 months. It's unbelievable.
My unofficial favourite moment as well is standing at the back of Section G singing ABBA, then singing Wham, then singing Belinda Carlisle, then singing Atomic Kitten. They're like, my dreams all came true. Like, that is what it's all about.
Can I just maybe say that the only thing that could make that better for you would be if there was a Right Said Fred tune thrown in there.
That's very true. We need to get that on the go. We need to get a right. The next signing needs to fit in with a Deeply Diply. we need to get it going. Like, right, boys. Next time we'll podcast. It will be what our next game. Is it the Cup, or have we got St Johnstone first, then the Cup?
We got St Johnstone first, I believe. Let me check. Yeah, hi, St Johnstone first. Then Auchinleck a couple of days later. So we play Tuesday 18th at home to St Johnstone. Probably likely that none of us will be there for that. But
so we'll end it with there. Like we said before, we said to the guys on the watch along that if it just so happens to transpire that again it's going to be behind closed doors, then we'll put it out there, and if people want to do another watch along, we'll try and iron out the creases from the last one. We had an absolute ball. It was it was good fun. It was great to see everybody getting involved with it, and the feedback that we had is people really enjoyed it. So if there's an appetite for us to do it again, we'll do it again for St Johnstone. But other than that, for everybody on the podcast, have a great new year. Stay safe. Thanks for 2021. Yous have been amazing. Boys, have a good new year if I don't see yous, and all the best.
Cheers, guys.
All the best, guys. Take care.
Gorgeros.